Drone strikes in Saudi Arabia cause oil production to be halved. How is this going to affect us? What does this mean for us? So drone strikes on the heart of the Saudi oil industry forced the kingdom to shut down half its crude oil production on Saturday, amounting to a loss of 5 million barrels a day, roughly 5% of the world's daily production. So Yemen's Iranian-aligned Houthi rebels, which I could tell you, claimed credit for the attack, saying they sent 10 drones to strike at important Aramco, which is the producer of this oil, including the world's largest oil processing plant and a major oil field. Crude prices will be on the watch, naturally. Production cut was taken as a precautionary measure, but most output will be restored within 48 hours. So obviously, not necessarily something major, but you see with things like this, crude oil is ahead 14.5%. Yikes. So pretty much what happens in any case of this, obviously it's a simple supply demand type situation. So as supply decreases, the demand for that will increase, price will increase as a result as well. If you have less, the price is going to increase, so that way more money is made off that. So pretty much this strike has caused crude oil prices to skyrocket. As you see, 14.5%. Obviously irrelevant. Futures here from NASDAQ and S&P, not super important, down 0.5% each. So, what is going on here? What's happening now? Obviously, as far as our consumption in the United States, we are turning to reserve fields, as highlighted here, based on the attack of Saudi Arabia, which may have been an impact on oil prices. It may have an impact. I have authorized the release of oil from Strategic Petroleum Reserve, if needed, in a to-be-determined amount, sufficient to keep the markets well supplied. I have also informed all appropriate agencies to expedite approvals of the oil pipelines currently in the permitted process in Texas and various other states. It really went south there towards the end, not just because it's in Texas, but the accent went south there pretty fast. Sorry, Donald, I did you some disrespect there. So pretty much, we have a backup reserves for a good reason, just in case something like this happens and oil production is halved. This is so that consumers don't necessarily feel the impact as much as others might. So we're luckily a country that produces a little bit of oil, and we have reserves already. And most of our oil obviously does come from Saudi Arabia as well, or the Middle East at least. So the fact of these reserves is very helpful, so that way, as a consumer, you're not really going to see a difference in price. Coming up, maybe a couple cents, nothing serious. As far as global economy is concerned, I think India would be a place where they're going to be facing quite a bit of an issue. Obviously, they have a significant trade deficit already with Saudi Arabia, and as I believe third or fourth most, they use the third or fourth most oil in the entire world as far as countries are concerned. They use a lot of oil, and this is going to hurt them with that increasing price because they don't have reserves. They really don't have anywhere to get oil. Their reserves are just not there. And so now this increase in 14.5% per barrel obviously is going to hit them very hard. And it's going to hit their consumers very hard as well. But this would be an example I'll give you of why I don't invest in commodities. Don't mess with them. Gold, silver, oil, all of these things. I don't mess with commodities. Steel is another example. There's a good reason, because you just never know at all. for the most of the time, these prices are stagnant, and you don't see much of a difference. But something like today, or Saturday, that is, obviously an unexpected drone strike, which no one had an idea was coming, thanks to these darn Yemen Houthi, ended up causing a 15% increase in oil costs. So obviously, if you're invested in oil, you have oil, it's good for you, but I mean, not many people do. But let's just say, as an example, that you could in fact gain some money off of this, but there's no guarantees in this. Commodities are just so hard to judge. You can never really base it off of whether the economy's doing well, whatever it is. You just can't really base these prices of these commodities, and that's why I don't really like to mess around with those. Overall, this shouldn't have much of an impact on us, though. Just some very important news. We'll see what happens in the coming days regarding our oil consumption or where we're getting our sources from. If we do have to go to reserves, we'll entirely see. But overall, shouldn't have much of an impact because obviously they should be able to resume their production within a couple days of the drone strike. So as long as that all goes to plan and we don't have any subsequent drone strikes leading to potential war, I hate to say that, which it is an impact. It's important to mention that. Obviously, the Middle East is always at war. There's always fighting. But if this leads to more of a widespread type war, when other countries get involved, it'll be a concern, and I certainly hope that isn't the case. But we'll see what we do as a result of this. But I don't think it's going to have much of an impact. I think it's just happened. We're going to get over it, and you shouldn't see much of an impact in terms of your oil prices, at least. So isn't that enjoyable? Alrighty.